Finally, we are back to talk about My Adventures with Superman Season 3, Episode 7. I apologize, it is my fault for the delay. Some stuff happened, a little busy, and well, we had to get back together a little later than usual. But at the end of the day, I'm here with the one and only legendary
Karen Thomas funny clips.
and man, we're talking about it. It was a wild episode, wasn't it? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I will say, I am seeing a lot of people not like this episode, believe it or not. I'm seeing a lot of people feel like this was too much filler for a show like this. And I can kind of see where they're coming from, but at the same time, it does develop the characters where I don't feel like it is a filler episode. Really, a filler episode to me is where it was a big waste of time. You didn't have to waste your time with it. As with any anime, you really, when a filler episode comes up, you can literally skip it. There's nothing important in it. As for this episode, I actually felt like there was a few things that were important. Like, for instance, we get to see more of development of the characters. We see Superman eventually, you know, figuring out that, yeah, it's okay to be Clark Kent. And we also see Jimmy and Kara getting back together again. So it's honestly kind of weird for me to hear a lot of people saying that this is filler when a lot of stuff happens this episode because there is a lot of stuff to dissect here. Maybe not as much as like episode 5 or something like that, but it is one of those like sort of fast paced, but also nice, chill episodes. Um, as where it's making its own version of the Tournament of Power, I was a little disappointed with how they did it. I was actually really wanting to see how they were gonna fight, but as the episode went along and then they noticed that they were just gonna play little mini games, I was like, okay, I can kind of understand why they're doing it this way because without Superman, they would severely lose because the other team was just so overpowered, in my opinion. With all because you had a Lex Luthor you had a Lex Luthor, you had a athletic Lois Lane, then you also had a Kara that was like the original Kara that didn't eventually turn good, but she was also not evil, so it was another thing. And then you also had Jimmy, which I thought was hilarious that he was a common writer, which I was like, that is pretty cool and everything, where he's doing so many common writer references. I don't watch a lot of common writer stuff. I do watch some anime that makes their own versions of that, and they do a pretty good job with doing the cheesiness of a common writer. And I felt like that was like the cool part about it is that these characters are so much different from our timeline. And it just shows that they are just trying to develop this multiverse, which I'm starting to wonder if we could potentially see a season where we're time warping to multiple universes, doing something that is kind of like Dragon Ball Super, but goes beyond what Dragon Ball Super does with the multiple universes. And we have our universe helping other universes saving each other. I think that could be pretty cool. Honestly feels like the Superman thing to of him wanting to save other universes because he doesn't just care about his people, he cares about the people of the world. And I think going beyond that, making them the want to be the helper of the universe, the hero of the universe, I think could be going a long way as well. It just really fits with the Superman character, in my opinion, that I could actually see it working. Like, honestly, I could see like a season where Lex Luthor wants to be the master of the universe. Uh, No, no connection to He Man, but the the master of the multiverse. He wants to be able to control everything. That is just fits in with his character. And then when you put Superman wanting to help these other universes, it also just helps with that a whole lot better. Plus, all the unique ideas is just out there on the table where you could pull original ideas where you don't have to follow the comments, which I think is just a fun thing. Because when they do their own thing, I think it works just as well as when they adapt from the comments. But back to the episode, I actually thought the games themselves were very interesting, in my opinion. They were not something I was really expecting, which is just something about this show that I just really like, is that it's not predictable. Where as most shows that premiere on channels like this, they're usually just nothing but predictable and everything. And I thought it was amazing seeing Superman struggling, him trying to be his best, but then also being apologetic. That's just the way Superman works. And how he really feels bad that literally Kara is keeping up the team. Because if you really think about that, Kara's the only one on the team that is actually strong. And she seems like the biggest, the one that is carrying everything on her shoulders. She's the one that has to do all this, but then she has her own problems as well to deal with. Is that she's not having that much, she's having chemistry with Jimmy as well, where she's like, I want to help him and make sure he doesn't die or anything, but at the same time, he did dump me. So I don't know what to do. And then she also has conflict with the other car, which I thought was a really good idea of bringing back of what the first episode said, where Brainiac literally told Kara that you may lock me up and everything, but you know who you are, and that's you were made to be evil. And I thought that was a nice callback where I even forgot about that because we're just 7 episodes in, and it's very weird that they waited 7 episodes for this to finally kick in. I think they're trying to tease more of this into it, but it honestly feels like the arc of her being evil is done. It's almost like they were gonna make this an arc, but it was scrapped last minute, and then they were like, "Oh wait, we threw in that line in that first episode. We need to fix that." So they just put it in this episode to kind of fix that, make a full circle moment where they kind of rushed it because I feel like Brainiac was supposed to show up at some point and there was going to be something big, or maybe Lex was going to say something about Carl, because there is that other episode of season two where um Kara's like, is Lex mad because of me? And then Superman's like, no, he just is different. He doesn't understand. And I feel like that was a scrapped arc for Supergirl, and it's almost like they just now thought, oh, we screwed up. We forgot about it. It's not that important. Let's just fix it in this one episode and just be done with it. I thought that was just so weird and out of place. But honestly, I'm glad that they didn't do what kind of, some of these shows do where they sweep it under the rug. Hopefully, no one remembers. And I think that's just something that they just do well with, is that they know how to fit stuff like that. But as for Jimmy this episode, I like how he is with his counterpart. I thought it was cool how he was overly obsessing his counterpart of how cool he was. And I would not be surprised if he decided to go to, like, you know, to some tech company, ask them to make him a suit or something where he can be the unofficial Superman sidekick. I could see that being Jimmy's thing, of him being like, "Oh, I really like that suit and everything. I want to make my own suit." And I could see that actually happening in an episode and it crash and burns and he doesn't do it ever again. That could be an episode or something, or this could be just something that he is just really into. And I could see if Lex ever does get like his green mech suit, which his power suit, I think it would be pretty cool to see Jimmy be like, okay, I need to lock in, make my own, go against him. I think that could be pretty cool as well. But him overly assessing, thinking he was that cool. And I also did like how Jimmy was like the savior and like the Superman of that universe, where it almost, while they didn't confirm it, it almost felt like they were saying that Superman wasn't around all that long. And that's what it really felt like to me, is that because they didn't really say many memories that they had with Superman or Clark. Yeah, they mostly said Clark in it, but it really felt like Superman was barely Superman in that universe, which that that thing just makes me so mind boggled because I'm like, why did they just didn't explain it all that too well? In my opinion, I felt like because as they were showing like these sad moments of it, I felt like we needed some kind of flashback or something. I felt like that would have helped a lot with seeing maybe some empathy towards these characters rather than just saying, "Oh, our Superman died." By the way, Jimmy is our hero. I think it could have helped a little better if we saw some flashbacks, especially when Lois is talking to Lois. I thought that would have been way better because as we're uh because she has the whole future thing, which I thought we were done with, and for some reason we're now back to that because for some odd reason I thought that was kind of weird in itself because it was like, so why are we back with this future thing when she clearly said in that episode where it was about Kara and Lois together, she was literally like, well, whatever happens in the future, we'll go through it together. I thought we were done with it, and somehow we're not. And it's really making me wonder why Lois has to keep on doing this. It's like they ran out of ideas for Lois to do this season, so we brought it back. But who knows what that could have been? Maybe they didn't mean to make it feel like it was over, and it was just like, oh, it will be continued in the next part. But as I saw her with like the other Lois, I thought their dynamic was really good and everything. Where she is worried that she'll turn out dark and brooding like this Lois because she seems way more independent, feels like she needs no man to help her and everything. I feel like that's what she was really worried about. And it really felt like she was afraid that she was going to push everyone back, which fits very well for character. She's always the one trying to bring people together, trying to fix things herself, but she also needs help from others as well, which I think really shows that she's really trying to be a better person. But Let's in this I thought was interesting because we got another alternate reality where Let's is a baldy, and I think it's crazy how they're teasing all this bald stuff, and it's making me wonder. And I know so many people are going to be mad about this. I think Let's is not going to get his hair cut off. I think he's going to keep on having full mullet all the time in this universe. This is they're pretty much saying it stone. They're trying to tell us fans we're never going to get bald versions of Let's in our universe. So that I do feel bad for most people because I see so many people hate on the Let's in this universe because they're like, he's so weak, he's so puny. he's got no he's got all hair. And I'm like, guys, this is an alternate universe. But I did like how him and Superman worked together and everything. And I liked how this was a Let's where he practically turned good because of Superman dying. I thought that was very interesting where he is one of the heroes in this universe. And I thought it was interesting how when, you know, there's that part in the episode where he's trying to tell everyone, guys, listen. And he's like, listen, what nerd would, what normie would be with, oh, making a deal with a god? And he's like, listen, and takes off his glasses. He still doesn't see it, fits his hair and everything. I thought that was just classic of how they literally were making fun of how has no one made uh put the two to two together. And I thought, and it makes sense that they're making it more where it's less noticeable because of the hair. I think that really helps it a lot rather than what it used to be in the comics where he kept his hair same hairstyle all the time and it was so noticeable immediately when he took those glasses off. I was like, man, that they really know how to fix those kind of things. And as when I saw him really gets more into it and he's like using his head, I actually thought it was pretty cool how he was able to figure out that, wait, these two are not in a divorce. They are actually doing something else. They're doing some kind of challenge or something. And I thought it was pretty cool how we got to see the Clark Kent side actually save the day. And it really just shows that you don't need muscle to defeat a villain. All you have to do is just use your head. And that's just something that Superman was just really good at is that in the comics when he was a kid, he skipped grades and everything. He was super smart. He was the top of his class. That's just the things that are missing most in most Superman comics today, in my opinion, where it doesn't show the smart side of Superman all that much. Kind of like how Spider-Man comics don't really show the nerdy Peter Parker side anymore. It's just something that isn't really full on developed. And I do think that this ending was a little rushed, in my opinion. I felt like it was kind of weird how they ended this, but more on that in a moment. The Cora and Jimmy stuff, probably the biggest highlight of this episode, in my opinion, because I was just really just wondering what they were going to do. That was probably the part that I was mostly interested in. The other stuff, I was kind of just tuning out just a bit. Like, this episode was all over the place. And we just got in like the final challenge, well, the second final challenge, they finally did the Jimmy and Kara part. And I did like how that the ice challenge, I did like that challenge where it was showing the problems with each character and what they need to fix. It really showed us the viewer of what they can do to fix this. And I like how Superman was scared that he could die and that Superman's no more and what good is he now? And I thought that was good. And then Lois shows up that oh, she sees her vision and it shows that she wasn't all that good and she gets frozen up. But when it got to Kara and it showed her being evil, I was like, and then once Jimmy says that he needs to change, I feel like this is where we finally get where Jimmy and Kara are going to go full on couple mode. I think we're done with this Jimmy and Kara drama now. That now I say this because, but they could just turn around and change it again because they did the same with Lois. So this could all happen again. But I do think that we could see them develop more as a couple because I am seeing so much Jimmy slander all over the internet, and I'm just tired of it. And I think they're finally gonna get back, and I'm hoping people stop hating on my boy Jimmy because I really feel like he is being a little overhated with some stuff. But as they were going on with it, I did like how Kara was kind of the one holding up the team, and we never got many like answers to what the whole reason of why they were doing all this. It was mostly because it was just a challenge for the couple and everything. I felt like this was just all so weird and everything. It it was just so strange to see how this episode was so cluttered. It was a very messy episode, in my opinion. But biggest highlight was definitely the ending of this, where you get 12 teleported back, and where Superman is embracing the full Clark Kent side of him. And that's when we see Superboy and another super right beside him, which is looking like it's gonna. We were talking about maybe it's Kara and Jimmy's kid, or I was thinking it was probably his girlfriend. I was thinking that would be pretty cool, but then I was like, wait, she has superpowers, so it could be someone else. But I feel like they're trying to do a future Trunks and future My situation here because they're they were the ones that alerted Goku and came back from the future in Dragon Ball Super, and I feel like they're trying to do the future Trunks art of the and Super at the same time, just to be different. But I do think this episode was kind of messy, but at the same time, it was good in a sense. But at the most part, it was kind of just all over the place, to be honest with you.
I can agree with that. It was also really fairly filling short. Like, they even skipped the intro, if you remember, which was pretty wild. I.
Yeah, and that I forgot to talk about that, but that thing just made me so mad because you can hear that they were going to put the intro in there. You heard the intro and then they cut it. It's almost like they realized, oh, we got too much content in here. We need to cut it. And I was like, that is such a weird. It felt so weird just hearing that afterwards. I was like, man, we just heard a little bit of the intro and then it cuts. It don't feel right. They should have put music over that, I feel like, just to make it better. But
Mhm.
I thought that was so weird.
Um, it's possible because they're playing two finales back to back that there was extra stuff within one of those. I'm forgetting if Blue Lock had like extra stuff in its ending and that's why they had to do that. Or it could have also been Tokyo Avengers. But I don't think that's the case with Tokyo Avengers. I think it just comes to a nice little cliffhanger and it ends. So I think it was Blue Lock's the reason that that happened in the first place, in theory.
Well, that's the thing. Blue Lock, it plays like extra content during the credits. So they don't cut the credits like they usually do. So they had to play the full on credits of Blue Lock.
Ah, oh.
Yeah.
Unsure. It could have just it looked like a glitch almost because it was getting ready to turn on and then it just didn't do it. So glitch probably. Just poor timing. Um.
Well, I watched it the second time it aired when it does the rerun, and it did the same thing. So it's almost like it was a part of it. So that's the also weird part.
Um. But yeah, going into the statue, I looked it up just now while you're going into it, and apparently it's supposed to be an anvil that Superman uses. What exactly was it called again? The Cosmic Anvil, which is apparently something
Uh,
Superman can use. And apparently, I was wondering whenever they said that character was a sore loser, the one being killed. It's,
hmm.
in theory, supposedly, maybe possibly a version of Clark or even a family member, like a descendant from long ago. And who knows the reason why it was going to be awakened. But what I do know, and I'm kind of skipping around. Whenever we go to the ending, we see Superboy and another unfamiliar female character. Supposedly, I read somewhere that Power Girl was supposed to be introduced in some way, and I think maybe she was supposed to be there at that point. There was a big mess up, and I've looked even further. There's another random character that has recently been brought into the DC universe that they're trying to get some spotlight on. So it's gotten kind of crazy with what DC is trying to do. I hope it doesn't ruin this season, but I think in these next two episodes, we're gonna get thrown off quite a bit with the man that joins up with them. But I do think this episode that's coming is gonna be safe. We're gonna get to know who this other female is, which my thought was this is probably Jimmy and Kara's daughter. You know, it makes sense. I think
Yeah.
I think the other thing is it was supposed to be Power Girl and Superman and Lewis technically have another son. I think they were trying to introduce the other son plus Power Girl and got derailed. I think next season that's going to be more plausible if that goes on. Going into the filler thing, I think what we see on the other team is like a variation of what's going to happen to them. I think Kara's changed hers, and that's like the alternative Lex Luthor. I think either way he will lose his hair eventually, but I wouldn't be mad if he did have hair because there's always that point where it could happen, where he has to work with his other bald self. That'd be a pretty funny situation where there's like two of them. Lewis, Lewis Lane. God, I say it poorly. Um, that's really what would happen to her whenever Clark dies. We got to kind of see that vision. And that was 100% what would
Hmm.
happen. Jimmy, the only reason he becomes a superhero is because Clark dies, but I do think they might try to turn him into some type of hero. Do not think he's going to be a sidekick. That would be pretty cool if, because of the series, they make him into a canon superhero called Flamebird, and it could possibly be a
Yeah.
comic book character. I don't know. It had some new stuff to it, and they're definitely maybe going to do another comic book tie-on of all of this, but it's like it's either going to be a good next episode because this is going to get floppy. I feel like a little bit. People are going to start questioning it, and the Green Lantern series is going to have to kind of pull them out. But so far, it's not been the worst. This episode is kind of confusing, most definitely, with them trying to do these random puzzles that were really they're being tricked into thinking these were games. They're really trying to gather all these orbs, kind of like the Dragon Ball. I thought it was like some Shazam stuff. Maybe they would activate a god. Unfortunately, no. I think this cosmic thing is like I was like reading to it. You can like make suns and all this other stuff. It could be the way that Clark gets his powers later. I don't know all the lore. Like DC is super rich with that like mythical, magical stuff. It's like you can go into it all day and you would learn something new. It's that insane. Um, ooh, I don't think it would be Apocalypse, but he's eventually going to show up, and it's going to be pretty crazy. That's a long time down the road. Yeah, I'm
I
definitely
could see them in the next season doing Zod. I think that would be pretty cool.
yeah. Um, Actually, now that you speak about Zod, um, am I allowed to give like a little spoiler?
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're going to be doing some House of Zod. Um, as far as characters, do you care as much about the spoiler of that too? It comes off of voice
No,
actors.
I know all about Zod and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, House of Zod is going to be the theme of these upcoming episodes. most definitely. And a biker is going to end up showing up at some point. So, yeah, it's random, but they were expecting the Superman movie to be big, and they said, screw it. We're going to bring Lobo in. So, how does he show up?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's random. I mean, I've skipped around. You gave it a pretty good go, and you do great. Uh, yeah, it was messy, but I still feel like it's a pretty good episode. What would you rate it? What would you rate it?
I would give this one a 7.9, mostly because this was very too messy for my liking. I had a hard time tuning into the first time it aired, and I was like, okay, I am going to stay up and I'm going to actually watch the second airing of it so I can kind of get a little more because I was like, if I did that review right after I watched the episode once, I guarantee you that my review would be messy because it's just that messy.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those episodes where you need to kind of give it time and think about it. I don't think this was the episode to introduce another new character. That's just a terrible way to do it. They should just give Clark's
Agreed.
powers back. Like, why are we just sitting here waiting all this time? I mean, like, dude, I guess anything but giving Clark his powers back, give some Bizarro some spotlight, is what it is. Is what it is.
Well, I have bad news for you, buddy. I my prediction is that he's not going to get his powers until the last episode because apparently the last episode is going to be called The Return. So that could be the episode where he gets his powers back. So it might be because so we got like two episodes until we see his powers back. So
Yeah, I looked into the synopsis of that episode. It ain't looking good, but looks good, but not good. I, like I said, I don't think this is going to be as far as the best season that they've ever had, but it had like a lot of really cool moments. Like to us,
yeah,
since we're like we're fans of it, we're gonna think this is a really great season. But it's so hard to beat season two. Like you gotta agree that season two was just lined up so perfectly and such a big highlight ending, and it's gonna be hard for them to perform that same thing.
yeah. Although this does have just as high moments as season two, I will say, even though it's messy, it does have those high moments.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things is I think it was episode one. It was the lab. That's another throw off. Like, dude, now we're just gonna be given like we're introducing characters very poorly, and it just seems like they're
Yeah,
very lazy. I don't think that's a great thing, and they just got to do better next season. You know, they're building back up, and you gotta kind of take that with a grain of salt, of course. Um, yeah. So hopefully we get to know more about the new character. That's my big thing. Oh, I forgot to rate this episode. I'll give it an 8.4. It was passable, but that's a little too generous. It was just very wasteful. Not a filler though. I think people that say it's a filler is they don't know what they're talking about. This is a cartoon. This ain't no anime. There ain't no source material. Where's the source
yeah.
material? Like, come on. And like I was saying, there's a connection to these other variations of the characters. They're literally them alternatively. So if something goes wrong, or if they haven't fixed it already, this will happen. Remember that.
Yeah.
It's something to think about.
Hmm.
Gosh, I'm prologuing, talking a lot of theoreticals, but I get excited because it's gonna end up in a way. You know what? I'm gonna go on a limb and say it. We're gonna get introduced to. She's got to make another appearance. More Green Lantern stuff is definitely coming in that finale. At least an enemy of the Green Lanterns.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I really got to throw out there. You got anything else?
No, I'm all good.
Yeah. Sorry, one little off the cuff. You know, Cameron, he does it good. Whenever it gets to me, I'm like, man, he spoke all these good things about it. He gave it some good words. What could I really add? You know me. Anyway, I hope you guys stay safe. We would like to know what your guys' thoughts are on My Adventures with Superman Season 3, Episode 7. Hope you guys stay safe. Until next time, peace out, guys.
Peace.